This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Omega Bright Wellness. I've taken their omega-3 supplements for many years, and so has my wife, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. I'm proud to have them. You can find all of their products online at omegabrightwellness.com, and bright is intentionally misspelled B-R-I-T-E, omegabrightwellness.com. Hello and welcome to Distraction. I'm your cheerful, ebullient, talkative, funny, smart, brilliant, interesting host, Dr. Ned Hallowell, and if you believed those adjectives, please send me an email congratulating me. I am, as you can tell, in a fun-loving mood today, but I've got to talk about a not terribly fun-loving topic. Namely, burnout. Oh my gosh, burnout. With the new year, we have high hopes, of course, with every new year, high hopes, and there are big-time changes happening in the country, in our leadership, as well as with the pandemic. But many of us, if not most of us, are still stuck working at home. Our children not able to attend school in the same way that they have been able to, and in general, feeling like it's Groundhog's Day, which is a recipe for burnout. So what can you do to combat burnout? The sense of sameness, of fatigue, of lack of control over your environment, those create, not just burnout, but, despair, low, not full-blown suicidal despair, but a sort of existential gloom, a sense of, here we go again, why bother? Where's the motivation? As my wife's grandfather used to say, I'm getting old and feeble and I cannot work no more. And that's kind of a good description of the state that I want to talk about. I'm getting old and feeble, even though I'm only 33 and I cannot work no more. What do you do about that? Well, I have two antidotes to offer to you. There's probably thousands more, but the two that I favor, I started off the show by exhibiting one, namely introducing the unexpected. I don't usually describe myself with those kinds of adjectives. And I did it to get your attention, to give you some variety, to shake it up a little bit. And if you can do that to your day, shake it up a little bit, do it a little bit differently, dress differently, talk differently, tickle somebody, get the newspaper and throw it in the trash instead of reading it. Do something different. Eat breakfast or dinner and dinner for breakfast. Anything to change it up, shake it up, be silly, be irreverent, or if you're usually silly and irreverent, try being serious and solemn. It would be an interesting experience for me, certainly. But variety is a way to combat Groundhog's Day. I mean, that was the whole problem with Groundhog's Day. It was the same thing over and over and over again. Well, we do have some control, more control than we usually exercise. And, you could park in a different spot. You can, I just started getting tickets. I've lived in this house for 25 years, and all of a sudden the town decided to start giving me tickets for parking in front of my house. That really blankety-blanked me off. And that, in a funny kind of way, introduced some variety, courtesy of the town of Arlington, that I didn't really want, but it gave me a dose of variety. And annoying as it was, all of a sudden they started enforcing an ordinance that they hadn't enforced on me for 25 years. But, it's on the books, so I'll pay the ticket and grumble silently to myself about why why this ordinance exists. I'm sure there is a reason. But it gave me a new thing to grumble about. Instead of grumbling about the pandemic or grumbling about the president or grumbling about, the standard topics we've been grumbling about for months now, I could grumble about why are they slapping a bright orange ticket on my innocent little windshield in front of my house for parking there overnight when I live on the widest street in the whole town. And there's no earthly reason that I can think of why they have this ordinance. Now, I'm sure there's good reasons I don't know about. Maybe people who park overnight are more likely to attract the criminal element, or maybe by parking overnight, I'm inviting UFOs to land next to my car. Maybe there's some study that has shown parking overnight shortens lives and increases the likelihood that my town will become, a recipient of diverse diseases and disabilities. I don't doubt that they have their good reasons, but it was a shock to my system. So there's one remedy: variety that you create or someone else creates for you. That will help shake up your system and give you a little bit of pep, even in a negative way. The other remedy is my favorite remedy for everything, which is to connect. Now, that's harder to do these days because of the pandemic. We're supposed to keep our distance. We're supposed to wear a mask, blah, 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 blah. You know the drill. But there still are ways of connecting. I hope through this podcast, I hope I'm connecting with you. I hope I am. You may be snoozing off. I may be doing a terrible job of it. Maybe I'm not entertaining enough, funny enough, pithy enough, glib enough, whatever. But I'm trying, and I'm hoping that you're receiving. That's, again, we depend upon the efforts of each other. Excuse me, I just hiccuped. That's another occupational hazard of doing a podcast, is you try not to hiccup, but then again, now and then everyone has to hiccup. It's one of the exigencies of life is hiccuping. But I can connect and hiccup at the same time, I hope. So try to build connection into your day. Try to call a friend, talk to someone you know, discuss a new recipe. You can connect with the newspaper, the one I suggested you throw into the trash. You can open the newspaper and connect with life today. Read the food section and get a new recipe. Do the crossword and stimulate your brain. Read the Metro section and feel sad about the amount of corruption in your city. Or read the columns and get yourself excited, combative, stirred up one way or the other. So it doesn't have to be connecting with a person, is my point. I hope by now, if you've listened to me long enough, you either have a cat or a dog or both. And by all means, play with your cat or dog or both. And enjoy the bounties of that. Go out for a walk. Connect with nature. That is a really good way of getting the cobwebs out of your brain. Go out even if it's cold, as it is here where I live in Arlington, outside of Boston. Go for a brisk walk. You don't have to go anywhere. Just take a little walk. It doesn't have to be a long walk. I don't enjoy exercise. So the exercise I have to get myself to do it. I enjoy having exercised, but I don't enjoy the doing of it. It's like what Samuel Johnson said about Paradise Lost. It's a work that everyone wants to have read, but no one wants to read. Well, that's how I feel about exercise. But I really need to do it because I do not want to die. I want to live as long as I can possibly live because I happen to love life. I just don't love exercise. In fact, I quite dislike exercise. But back when I could play squash, that was my way of getting exercise because I love the game of squash, and I forget that I'm getting tired playing it. But my partner and I, Peter Metz, we can't play now because of COVID, so we were wondering when they'll open up the squash courts. In any case, I've given you 2 remedies for this phenomenon, whether we want to call it burnout or gloom or fried egg sandwich, whatever we want to call it. The 2 remedies I'm suggesting are variety, shaking things up, doing things differently, and connecting. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with a person. It can be with ideas, with nature, with music, with whatever you might have available. All right, well, that's it for me today. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Omega Bright Wellness. Save 20% on your first order with the promo code podcast2020 at omegabrightwellness.com. And I'm very happy to share with you the news that my new book, ADHD 2.0, is out now. I wrote it with Dr. John Rady, my colleague and buddy, and we lay out a revolutionary new approach featuring new science and strategies to help people with ADD, ADHD thrive. You can learn more about ADHD 2.0 and order a copy by clicking the link in the show notes or by going to my website at drhallowell.com. That's drhallowell.com. You can also find it wherever books are sold. And please reach out to us with your questions and comments by emailing connect@distractionpodcast.com. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our recording engineer and editor is the wonderfully talented Scott Persson, and our producer is the equally wonderfully talented Sarah Guertin. I'm Dr. Ned Hallowell saying goodbye for now. The episode you just heard was made possible by my good friends at Omega Bright Wellness. I take their supplements every day, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. Shop online at Omega Bright, and that's BRITE wellness.com.